Well, good afternoon. Nothing like a little Fleetwood Mac to get us started. Don't you think? No? Little Stevie and Lindsay? All right. So let's do this. We have, oh, Len, I want ice cream so badly. Hold on, we have to make sure that you're featured because not everyone can see you if you're not in the right. There he is. All righty. Now that's a way to start a meeting. I love it. And if you're asking, I'll have the one on the right because I prefer the vanilla over the strawberry. Just saying. Oh, and now he's got popsicles. Gets better and better. Love it. All righty. So let's get things started because the only thing funnier than Len Schwartz is Ellen DeGeneres.
Mary Jo Nightingale in Grass Valley, California. 6:13 p.m., a caller from Townsend Street reported a woman with minimal clothing leaning against a stop sign for 2 hours. The woman was found to be a mannequin. Which also explained why her head was missing. Flo Berry in Bartonville, Illinois, 10:43 a.m. An Army vehicle worth $74,000 has gone missing after being painted with camouflage. They sent troops to look for it, but now they can't find them either. Leslie Schaefer in Grants, New Mexico, 7:48 p.m. A female on High Street called saying a man was sleeping on her sofa and she did not know who he was or how he got into her home. Police found out later that the caller was highly intoxicated and she had forgotten the man on the sofa was her brother. She also reported a woman mocking her, which turned out to be her reflection in the mirror. Philly Tanafranca. Philly Tanafranca. What a wonderful name that is. Philly Tanafranca. In Calgary, Canada, 7:35 p.m., an Oak Hill community couple discovered a thief in their home Saturday after the man told his wife a joke and they heard a laugh upstairs. Hilarious. The thief was still hiding when police arrived, but they got him out with a knock-knock joke. Thanks for saying.
All righty, thank you so much, Ellen. It is always appreciated. Make us laugh. All righty, so I do see our numbers continuing to go up, and I do want to dive right into to the discussion point of this afternoon, which is phase 2 of our reopening plan. Before we do that, I wanted to make one quick point. And if 43 of you hear this, then maybe you could spread it to the other 43 and another 43 and so on and so on. I have noticed of late, like the last couple of weeks, and I know people are on edge with, our lockdown and everything that's going on in the world and whatnot, but I've noticed, and I don't say this that I've noticed it from you per se, but I've noticed it just in general, that emotions seem to be like way up here. And there's a whole lot of like outrage. And I'm not sure that outrage is really what we need when it's just real estate, right? You want to have outrage, save outrage for the things that you should be outraged about. Right? Look at what's going on in the world. Choose to be outraged about something like that. But when it is just real estate, man, oh man, that is such a huge suck of your energy that you just don't need to exhaust. And again, a lot of it is coming from the outside. I'm not saying that this is necessarily an us issue, although I do notice it internally as well. But a lot of the stuff coming in from the outside, it's like, I have to talk to you because, an agent said my name wrong, or like, okay, well, how would you like us to say your name? There are things that just don't need to be quite as dramatic and crazy as they are. And so for as much as you can help me help the world, like take it down a half a notch, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to the things that don't necessarily require such a high level of emotion, I would absolutely be grateful for that, because it takes a whole lot of energy to manage all of that extra emotion and energy as well. And again, I'm talking specifically about like real estate related things. What we do is really important. For the most part, nobody dies if something goes wrong, right? And I just think everybody has to remember that. All righty, so let's dive into phase 2 of our reopening. I'm so excited to be able to bring this to you today. And it's short. If you remember, phase 1 of our reopening was really long because everything was new. Phase 2 ultimately keeps everything or nearly everything from phase 1 in place. Excuse me, Wilson. In place. Most of the rules, all of the protocols, and just specifically addresses a certain couple of things that I want to run through with you now. And the first one are hours of operation, right? And so hours of operation, as you know, in phase 1 of our reopening plan, were limited to Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Anyone could be in the market center when the staff was there to support you. And we did that on purpose to make sure that as we eased back into utilizing our spaces in kind of a new way, that you had support there to help if you needed it, that you got used to coming in with a mask on and being masked in public places and not being able to use conference rooms and things like that. And so we wanted to give everyone that time. Well, it's been a month, if you can believe it. It's been a month, a little over a month since we've been in our phase 1 version of reopening. It's gone very, very smoothly. I hope everyone else thinks that it's gone smoothly. Those of you who have chosen to dive back into the market center, we certainly believe it's gone really smoothly and haven't really had many issues. And so what we're doing in phase 2 is we are going to relax those hours a bit and open the market center up now for not just weekday use. We will now go back to the way we were prior to all of this, which is you have the right to be in the market center when you choose to be in the market center. And so if that's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, that's awesome. The staff will be there to support and assist you. We are opening up nighttime hours, so anytime after 5 o'clock, if you need to be there or come in for a night shift, that is now available to you, as well as the weekends. This all starts Monday, June the 29th. So just a couple of days from now. We will still be closing at 5 o'clock today, tomorrow, Friday, and we will still be closed this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. However, starting on Monday the 29th, we roll out these new operating hours that then opens things up to earlier in the morning, later at night, as well as weekends. And that is, to answer Ian's question, yes, that includes any and all of our locations. Any and all of our locations. The protocol for after hours and for weekends will be pretty much exactly the same or nearly the same as what you've experienced during the week when the staff is present, which means masks are required to enter the building still. Again, those are rules from our landlords and from the state. Once you're in the building, in order to enter the office, masks still required to enter, and then worn at all times while you're in public space. Evenings and weekends will require one thing of you that you haven't been doing yourself that Robert and Maria have been taking care of on your behalf, and that is logging yourself in and logging yourself out. It's really, really important that as we continue to allow greater use of the market center, that we keep really good records of who was there and when, just in case. I'm certain that you would want to know if you were in the market center and somebody in the market center gets sick, we need to be able to tell you whether you were in the market center at the same time as that person on the same day. And so it's really, really important that we don't allow that to slip. if there's one thing that will pull us back from phase 2 back into phase 1 and have us restrict hours again, it will be people not logging in and logging out, because that's probably the most important piece of monitoring who's in the market center. So there will be a logbook in each lobby for you to use to get this accomplished. You will not be required to do a self-temperature check. That on the weekends, we will still be doing that during the week, but on the weekends and at night, we just don't have somebody specific who can handle that. So that piece will be skipped. And again, please remember that night times and weekends are reserved for our licensed real estate agents only. Please don't meet guests or bring your children or your spouses or your friends into the office with you, even into the lobby. So all those same rules that were in place in phase 1 about guests will stay that way in phase 2 as it relates to night times and weekends. And of course, while you're in the office, night times and weekends, all of the same protocols remain the same about places that are off limits, any kind of gatherings, masks in public places, all of those things remain the same. So we're just opening up the hours a little bit more with self login and self log out through that front door only, just like we've been doing. The second thing that will change is that we are going to move during the week, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So while the staff is still there to support you, we will open up if you need to meet a client or have a guest in the market center. We will be allowing clients to be met in the market center again starting Monday, June the 29th. We are still highly encouraging virtual meetings with buyers and sellers. What we're hoping is that not everyone will suddenly bounce back to let's meet in person. So we are still encouraging the virtual meetings. However, when necessary, we will start to allow, again, in phase 2, only during the week when there's staff present to help assist you in making sure that the guests are logged properly and masked properly and go to the right places and whatnot. We will allow for clients themselves to be present. Again, no more than 2 guests at a time. So a solo or a couple is fine. No kids, no friends, no parents. All that still needs to stay virtual for now. But solo or a couple in the office with you during the week, day hours will be permitted. We will only be opening the large conference rooms, which means we do have limited space. In the Ridgefield Market Center, that means 1 conference room available, and in the Stamford Market Center, that means 2 conference rooms available. We're only opening the large conference rooms for obvious reasons, I think. The small conference rooms with 3 or so people in them just still seem like a bad idea. And so we're going to open the large conference rooms so people can properly distance themselves in those meetings. And while your guests are in the market center, from the minute they walk in the building to the minute they walk out of the building, they need to be masked. They will not be permitted once they're in the conference room with you to take masks off. The only way that we have comfort in allowing outside folks in during this phase is if they're masked. We also ask that all those meetings that you may have, again, the necessary meetings with guests, are scheduled and confirmed with the front desk. This is really important, again, from a contact tracing and tracking perspective. We need to know who those people are and how we get a hold of them. So we're asking you to book that with the front desk, with either Maria or with Robert, to make sure that A, the limited spaces are not double booked, or B, that we have name, email address, and phone number, and we will look for all 3 of those pieces of information for each of your guests that comes in. And if it's a married couple, we'll look for it for each of the spouses: name, email address, and telephone number. And of course, while people are in the market center, all the regular safety protocols. Guests will, because we're still doing the temperature checks during the week, Guests will also have temperature checks when they walk in. So again, if you're scheduling a meeting, and I'll put all this out in an email to you late tonight into tomorrow. I just want you to prepare your guests for what they'll experience when they come into the office. We're going to be smiling and happy and thrilled to see them. However, make sure all of those safety protocols are in place to keep everyone safe. The third thing is use of shared office space. If you remember in phase one, anyone who shared an office, we kind of shut down the idea of having more than one person in an office at a time. As we move into phase two, we will loosen that restriction a bit, in that if you are in an office with more than just you, we will open that up to 2 people in an office at a time. We still highly encourage you, if you have roommates in your office, to work out some kind of a schedule where someone's in the morning or in the afternoon, or Mondays versus Tuesdays or whatnot, so that you can limit yourself to one person. Or if there's more than one person who needs to be there in the afternoon, one afternoon, that somebody just choose to go and sit in an empty space. Your team leaders and your staff can help direct you to a space that might be available for you to utilize. It really is not all that big of a deal. April Fury and I share an office in the Ridgefield Market Center. On days that April is here, much as I want and love to see her, I kind of relocate and bring my computer in here, and I work in here, simply because it's safer for both of us if we're solo in the office. However, we will loosen those restrictions for those of you to make those decisions on your own. If you choose to have you and your roommate in the office at the same time, we will encourage you to make sure that you are masked if you're not at least 6 feet apart, and just monitor what goes on. And lastly, with the phase two changes, the Zoom schedule for all intents and purposes will remain mostly unchanged. Trainings will continue to be 100% Zoomed, and our training rooms will remain closed throughout phase two. Our 9 a.m. Zoom calls will continue to go off daily. However, the 4:30 calls, which have already in the last 2 weeks gone from daily to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting next week, will go to 1 day a week. So we will have 9 o'clock Zoom calls every single day. That will continue. The 1 day a week we will have a 4:30 end of day call will be Wednesday, so right in the middle of the week, so that we can kind of catch you up on anything that's gone on and prepare you for anything that's coming. And so that will start next week. So those are the 4 major areas of change as we move into phase two. Are there any questions about that before I just touch on public open houses and MLS rules?
Yeah, Rick?
Yeah.
Is there a limit on the number of people allowed in the whole office? I know when you first started, it was 35 or 50 people initially, and we had to call ahead.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Shirley. So the answer to that is sort of. Like we're going to see what I'm not going to announce a number. We're going to monitor that and see what happens over the course of the next 2 weeks. I will tell you that even in the busiest day in each market center, we haven't really come close to hitting those phase one numbers yet, right? So even though we might have had 30 people in and out throughout the day, there was never that many people at one given time. So we're not really looking at that as an issue right now, knowing that people are slow to come back. However, we're going to monitor that for all of next week and the following week, and if it becomes more of an issue, we will absolutely look to put a cap on that to make sure that that we are keeping everyone safe and not getting just too crowded. Right? Thank you for asking that question. I did not think to mention that. What else? Any other questions based on what I just outlined? Nothing? Wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome. So 2 things to touch on. Just a reminder about public open houses and a reminder about the MLS whole rule thing with the forms and whatnot, only because I've been asked a whole lot of questions in the last couple of days. And so I want to just kind of reiterate some of the things that we've already talked about. Public and broker open houses are permitted. The NAR and CTR, so both the National Association and our state association, continue to discourage them. However, they are not prohibited. What I would encourage you to do, the Market Center's guidance on that is work with your sellers. If you have comfort and your sellers have comfort, then you are certainly free to host a public or a broker open house with all the safety protocols in place, which includes wearing a mask, which includes making sure that everyone maintains distance, which includes only one couple in the house at a time, which includes anybody else has to stay outside. So you might want to have signage on the outside talking about how this would work. For public open houses, you may want to lock the front door so you don't have people just kind of barging on in. Hand sanitizer. Some sellers are asking about booties or removing shoes. I'm not sure that's really a thing, and yet some sellers are asking us to do that. Some sellers are asking for that physical showing consent form to be signed beforehand at an open house scenario. So know that may be a thing for some sellers. Some sellers may still ask for a pre-approval letter, even in an open house scenario. So some of the ways that you can kind of work through this public open house thing is to have an appointment-only open house. I think that for me, if I were doing a public open house, I think I would limit the willy-nilly-ness of it by blasting it out wherever I wanted to blast it out. However, I was drawing exposure to that in the past. Do those same things and simply make sure it says, please note this open house is by appointment. Please call or text, Len to get your 12-minute slot or your 15-minute slot. And then just have a 1 o'clock and a 1:15 and a 1:30 and a 1:45 and a 2 and a 2:15, an hour and a half, you're done. You get 6 couples through. People don't have to be standing outside waiting and be frustrated. They know exactly when to come. And then, of course, if your sellers are looking for any forms to be presented or signed ahead of time, you can send those to those folks ahead. If they haven't spoken to a lender, you can certainly push them to our mortgage partners ahead of time so that they're bringing you the document when they arrive. And then, of course, any kind of public open house or even broker open house, if you so choose, you need to be logging in specifically who attends, their name, their email address, and their phone number. The days of please sign in on the kitchen table, those are over. You need, before they walk into the house, you need to step out onto the front porch with your logbook and say, okay, so you're next. What's your name? What's your email address? What's your phone number? And to each and every person that's out there, so that you can, again, keep valid logs just in case. Questions on open houses?
Yeah, Rick?
Yes, Michelle.
So how does it work with the MLS? Because they're so insane. Like, if it's by appointment only, how are they calling us? And how do we put our phone numbers in the open house? Do you know what I mean? I mean, and for them not to freak out over us having our information on our listings.
Yeah, so if you're putting them in the MLS, you may not have that opportunity. But if you're syndicating that through the KWLS, you have every opportunity to customize that. So I would do it that way, okay, and avoid the drama with the MLS.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions with public or broker open houses? Okay, and so the last thing is just a reminder about, because again, just a lot of questions in the last week. There was kind of a break for a couple of weeks where there wasn't a whole lot going on with this whole form thing, and then the last week I've gotten a bunch of additional questions, and so let's just review what occurred. On like the 23rd of May, the MLS released something that said they believe that a seller cannot require any kind of form to be signed prior to a showing if their refusal of such would then result in them being turned down for a showing. understand that on its face, that does not say that these forms are illegal. On its face, that also does not say these forms violate fair housing rules, because they don't do either one of those things. They're not illegal and they don't violate fair housing rules. However, it also allows, it does not prevent anyone from requesting a form to be filled out voluntarily, right? And so what many of you have done is you've just continued to utilize those same documents and have a conversation with the buyer's agent that says, look, this is the scenario of my seller and it is going to be required for this particular showing. And many of you have gotten really good when people say, why, you can't do that. Why, the MLS said no. Why, it's illegal. Why? To say, yes, I understand that the MLS has taken a position on that. However, this particular seller, for this particular reason, is going to request and require it. So do me a favor, just clear that with your buyers, and let's not make this difficult, right? It doesn't have to be contentious. Remember I said before, it's like the level of emotion and drama out there around these kinds of things is like a little off the charts. Let's just continue to keep it low and understand that my opinion is that our sellers have a right and our buyers have a right to ask whatever questions they want of someone who is going to be either entering their home as a seller or buyers, because I know that some of you are utilizing that document and sending it ahead when you're working with buyers to have non-KW listings. The sellers sign that form. And for those of you who are having that done, more power to you, because your buyers have asked you to do that, right? Or maybe that's how you're comfortable showing property. And I think that what we need to continue to do is set the example that in today's world, we need to work together and make sure that everyone has a comfort level around having business happen and err on the side of being over accommodating instead of erring on the side of rules that don't make a whole lot of sense. So do remember, as a listing agent, if your seller does not care about that document, then don't use the document. You're not required to use it. If your seller is only on the market because they want somebody to make a statement and sign their name to the statement that says they're not sick, well, I continue to believe the seller has a right to ask for that. And so if in a worst case scenario, you run into someone who is like the law and order police of the real estate community, who decides to file a complaint, you can simply say to them, I understand and that is your right. I wish you a very good day. Hang up the phone, text me and say, so-and-so might be calling the MLS to complain. And when the complaint comes through, I'll handle it. I absolve you of that responsibility of handling it. I will tell you that not one complaint has been filed in the last 3 weeks on this scenario. Not one. So whatever you guys are doing, you're doing a really good job of it, because I know that a lot of you are continuing to utilize that document by simply requesting it, right? I want you to know the facts, simply because sometimes you're allowing somebody who's louder on the other end of the phone to get the better of you simply because they're louder. And just because they're louder doesn't mean that their opinion is correct or that their interpretation of what the MLS has asked of us is correct, right? So at the end of the day, when we avoid that ultimatum conversation of the MLS said no, and just talk to one another and explain certain scenarios, there really aren't a whole lot of issues, right? Remember that the MLS is not the arbiter of the coronavirus, and buyers and sellers have a right to do what they feel is necessary to stay safe. I will not move from that position because I believe in it way too strongly. And I also think that stand takes a stand in protecting all of you as well. Which at the end of the day, I think one of my responsibilities as the broker of this organization is to protect you and protect our clients. And so I'm going to continue to take that stand. Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I have asked very specifically for the MLS to send me the the language inside of their rules and regulations that prohibits us from doing what it is they've told us is so horribly wrong. And they did send me something which doesn't say anything about any of this, right? And so my last words to them were, when you can bring me and point to a sentence or two in your rules and regulations that forbid what we're talking about, please stop annoying us. Love and kisses, Rick. Right? So that's kind of where it is. It's not the end of the planet, right? If people have a right to disagree, and if they do disagree and they're your clients, or they're someone trying to show it, it may just result in a non-showing that day. Everyone has the right to make their own decision about keeping themselves safe. And if people somehow don't agree on that, don't freak out. It's okay if they disagree. The sun will still come up tomorrow morning, I promise you. Make sense? Any questions on that? Okay. That's what I got for you guys. That's phase 2. I'm excited to move into phase 2. Somebody asked me before, knowing that this was going to be the discussion, how long is phase 2 going to last? It's impossible for me to answer that question. Just like a month ago, it was impossible for me to answer how long phase 1 was going to last, right? We're going to continue to see what happens if our state and our brokerages remain as healthy as we have been in the last 30 days. Then phase 3 may be coming, in August. If not, we'll see what that looks like, right? So we're going to just play it by ear, but for now, phase 1 remains in effect until Monday morning, and then starting Monday morning, all the phase 2 relaxations go into effect. So if you were part of the night crew in your market center and you're looking to get back to that, I encourage you to be excited about the relaxing of some of the weekday rules. If weekends are important to you to be in the office, well, we now have that available to you. Look, guys, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is do 2 things. We're trying to keep everybody focused on staying as safe as possible, and keep everybody focused on having the opportunity to run your business the way that you need to with as little inconvenience as possible. So we're doing our best to balance those 2 things out. And we're looking at this phase 2 as a middle ground to help us take another step forward. With that, as always, I love Mondays and Wednesdays because I get to start my day and end my day with you. It's a pleasure to spend time with you. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am around. I will see you at some point tomorrow, and we'll see you 9 o'clock tomorrow for another Agent Spotlight. Have a great evening.